Over the next 3 days, I'm going to be hiking alone through the remote Viking Wilderness in high country Victoria. The trails that make up this adventure are absolutely spectacular. Perhaps the best wilderness hiking experience you can get here in Victoria, but it certainly isn't easy. I've got 60 kilometres of rough track and bush bashing to clear, with approximately 3,500 metres of vertical ascent and descent whilst carrying everything on my back. Hiking doesn't get much better than this. Why hello there, fancy you joining me on this adventure. Today we find ourselves in the Upper Howker on our way towards Mount Howard and the beginnings of the dreaded, disgusting, horrendous Viking circuit. And the words I just used to describe it then, I'm really not feeling it's going to be that way. I have a feeling that it's going to be quite beautiful, gorgeous, stunning, maybe throw in a little bit of physical suffering into that one. Outside of that, I'm just really looking forward to this walk, but it can be quite a pain to get to the normal way to start this walk, driving all the way up via Lycola. Not wanting to do that, having done it before and knowing how bad it is, I've just driven into the Upper Howker campsite and thrown on a little bit of an extra walk to get into the circuit. It's good with the river levels currently. Well, not good because, as you can see, it's super duper low. We are in the middle of a very big dry spell at the moment in this part of Victoria. So usually this walking track involves 7 little creek crossings or something. I took my new best $6 I've ever spent in my life, which has converted me into a camp shoe user. The $6 Crocs from Big W. It's just so good. Got them attached to the back of my backpack and thinking that I'd use them on the river crossings, but alas, too low. You can just rock up across. Something you'd expect to see in summer, not something you'd expect to see in May. This part of the Australian Alps does not have a lot of water. So each campsite that we're going to be staying at is pretty much the places where there is water. So Mount Speculation, the Wanangata River, and then you could stay at McAllister Springs, as there is water there, obviously, but for that last day it's not super necessary. So it pretty much splits things up with about a 16 to 17 kilometre day today, a 15 kilometre day or so for tomorrow. However, that day is going to be the one over the roughest country, so it's probably going to take a while still. And then the final day is partially up a road, partially along a pretty undefined walking track, and then back onto a good walking track, and then down the way that we're about to head up. Well, this is the west peak of Mount Howard. Ooh, this is the most grand vista in all of Victoria's high country. But I can't take it in because I'm behind schedule. We've got to keep going, or else I really am going to be pitching my tent in complete darkness. Just passed over the summit of Mount Howard, the high point of the circuit, believe it's 1740 meters or something quite close to that mark. It's about 2 o'clock now. I'd be pretty happy if I can make it over to Mount Spec by about 5:30. By that time, it's getting pretty dark. We are now officially in the Viking Wilderness Zone. However, despite it being wilderness, we are not alone. I've spied a fairly large group ahead of me. They're currently making their way over the crosscut saw. Hopefully these guys have got a different itinerary than me, so that I can see them once and then never again. We're officially over the crosscut saw and now making our way through the aptly named horrible gap. It is yet to be the horrible part where it's super steep and then makes you climb all the way back up to Mount Buggery again, and then just when you think it's over, the same thing happens on the other side of it. So I'm really not on the home stretch yet. Still have a fair way. Bugger me, we're on Mount Buggery. This would actually be quite a nice campsite, although the school group that I passed on the way here said that they were camping here, so I guess it all works out, because it seems that I also have a decent amount of time to keep going on to Mount Speculation. It's just down this next saddle and up the other side. Let's hope that my body can keep it together. I must have been mistaken, because this is quite a big drop off from Mount Buggery as well, even bigger potentially. So this might be the horrible gap, which must mean that the other gap was maybe the horrendous gap. I can't call it the terrible gap because there's already something called the terrible hollow out here. With all these really inviting names, it makes you think. Must have given the first people to come through here quite a hard time if they were to give it such endearing names. Oh, after much hard work, we are just about at the summit of Mount Speculation. You just can't quite describe how nice it is to be up here. Right now as well even, although I'm running out of sunlight. There isn't a place I would rather be more than here. Let's go and get this tent set up. Well, we've got the tent set up We've just got our dehydrated meal started. Apparently we have to wait 5 minutes or so, give it another stir and wait another 5 minutes, and then we can munja. Otherwise, it's looking to be probably a very cold night. Hopefully I don't turn into a popsicle overnight. It is at least very still, but honestly I wouldn't mind a little bit of wind to come through to make it so that the tent doesn't get completely soggy, but I know it's going to get completely soggy, but we'll just have to dry it out tomorrow. Anyway, I'm going to eat up, rest up, and hopefully feel recouped for tomorrow's efforts of going and traversing the Viking. Ooh. What a gorgeous morning. Evidently we survived the night, but it was cold and my tent has become completely saturated, which I figured would be the case seeing how dewy it's been recently. But that's okay because the sun is out, the sun's shining, so we'll stop for a lunch break at some point today, dry it out. But regardless, our first step today is making it down to Camp Creek, have a nice breakfast, get hydrated, fill up on the water, and then punch it across the Viking Wilderness. Just received some fantastic news from the group that was camped out down at Camp Creek last night while I was up at Spec. Apparently the section across the Razor has returned to its former notorious self with lots of deadwood. Apparently it's much slower than it once was, so that'll be interesting to see because I've done it before. It was recently cleared, and then now it's been about a year since I've done it, and then the time I did it a year ago, it was like unbelievably different. I remember shrub over my head across Mount Despair. The footpad was terrible through the Razor, and then just like up and over trees every single metre. It was just disgusting. But I always get a little bit anxious about this section of the walk, just because this is the part where I made my biggest screw up in hiking by getting dehydrated. So I'm always a bit pedantic about the water. Even so, I'm a bit concerned that I don't have enough. So I'm going to just be really conservative today. Keep an easy pace, hopefully not sweat too much. Just made it over the top of Mount Despair and the track was absolutely fine. Just for context, prior to the clearing done in 2023, all of like the subalpine heath plant was completely over your head and you'd be looking down at the ground like that trying to go forward, and it would take a while. So luckily that isn't the case at all. The track's still completely fine. So the only part that may be slow is just that short section going down to the Viking saddle through all the deadwood. But that's alright, we seem to be making good time, making it over Mount Despair in under an hour. You remember that sign that was at the beginning of the crosscut saw that stated that within the wilderness zone there'd be no signage? Well, turns out there's a heap of new trail markers through this section. Feels like there's one every 10 to 20 metres or so. You can tell they're new because they're very plainly yellow and not really bleached by the sun. Don't know if it's something to complain about. It's just a bit odd. There really is quite a lot more deadfall in this section. Lost the trail a few times even because more trails have formed that go around the trees. Heaps of false leads and stuff. We are quite close to the saddle, but it's like deja vu. We really don't have time to stop again. It's the saddle. Jeez, that deadwood sucks. Oh well. Now we gotta head up that big thing behind me. And then maybe get a break on the top of it for a second before we head back down again. This is tough going. Oh man. Oh. It's the chimney. Well, it seems that we're at the confluence of the Alps track and then the track to South Viking. No idea what it's going to be like, but, well, there's only one way to find out, isn't there? Well, the track that I just started to follow was completely wrong. It started heading down another gully. So I have just decided to go with the bush. All I know is that I'm just trying to hit the spur, make sure it's the right spur, and then the rest is pretty simple, just follow the spur downhill. Honestly, I'll probably come across the trail anyway. We are cruising once again. Have found a few rock cairns to show that I'm going the right way. But anyhow, the navigation across the top is actually quite simple because it's extremely open. There's a few thickets of shrub in between some rocky outcroppy sections and some just saddly snowgrass areas like what I'm walking through currently. But I've spotted the South Viking off in the distance anyway, so that's the major landmark that I'm heading to, and I don't really care about where exactly the track goes. I'll sort of just sniff my way there, and then once we're there, just going to make sure that we go down the correct spur. But hey, would you look at that? It's another rock cairn again. Slowly making our way down. Navigation isn't super duper simple, but we're really doing all right. It was just 3 o'clock the last time I checked, so we've still got enough daylight to fumble around. And still, apparently, the further you go down, the more obvious the trail becomes. So it's sort of just a matter of working my way down. Footpad sort of comes in and out. It's all just also obscured by deadfall and leaf litter and all those fun things that make navigation fun when you forget to pack your compass. Oh well, that's my fault. Still, things are looking positive. Well, we made it down to the Gatter. Thank God. I'm so surprised that it's still daylight. Oh, that is the definition of hard yakka. That is one tough day that I've just done. My legs feel like jelly. Let's go and get this camp set up. We are in business. Set up my soggy tent. We've got round 2 of the bolognese, only because it's the only dish that they had. This one's not as good as the strife one. The strife one is just like on another level, but I've added some cheese to it and it's a good decision, even though I've been lugging this bloody 200 gram block of cheese around. Maybe I'll turn into a mouse or something tomorrow and just devour it. Good morning. It is a chilly morning down here in the Gatter. It was a pretty uneventful night other than having a few critters run around me, so then I decided to go and hang my food bag so they had no reason to bother me, and it seemed to work. But otherwise we're just gonna cook up a brew and then hit the legs this morning. Well, civilization. Good thing it's a quiet morning. I couldn't imagine doing this on a hot summer's day and you have a bunch of four-wheel drivers screaming past you and kicking up dust. Hopefully I haven't just spoken that into existence. Oh, this is just painful. Seems that my map has plotted the road incorrectly and it shows the trail heading off in that direction, but I haven't seen a single rock can or a single bit of tape or anything suggesting that the trail goes off that way. See, plenty of these little cans on the side of the road, but nothing to suggest that a walking trail heads off in that direction. Just decided to head bush. Definitely looked like I was not going to find anything. But rather than just continue to backtrack, I figured I might as well just jump into the shrub. It's not that dense at all. And then just keep trying to cut across onto the track. I'm sure we'll pick it up soon. It's no wonder I missed it. Allegedly, this is the track. Might as well be the same stuff that I was just walking through. Whatever it is, it's heading in the right direction, so I guess I'll keep following it. There's now a beautiful line of pink tape carving the way through the bush, because to call this a walking track is very disingenuous. It doesn't even look like a walking track ever existed here. It's basically just an animal track. I have to say, this is one of the most unenjoyable walking trails that I've ever done. You're walking through essentially the worst kind of off-track terrain that you can, which is subalpine fire regrowth. I would honestly recommend, if you are doing this, instead of coming up the Zika Spur, follow the Wanangata River a bit further to the right from the camp instead of the left, and take one of the spurs that heads directly up to McAllister Springs. It's essentially going to be the same. It's off track, but it's a lot shorter and probably more enjoyable than this shit. Jesus. And to add to that, this is so slow. So completely slow. Well, thank God that's over. I am so knackered after that. It's just such difficult shrub to be pushing through. Just gives so much resistance. That was truly the pain cave right there. And I tell you what, I need to actually have a lunch break. I haven't had a lunch break throughout this entire hike, and I think Vallejo Gardner Hut is the place to have it. It's hard to believe that throughout the entirety of this walk, I literally haven't taken a break whatsoever except for right now. Obviously, making it to camp doesn't really count as a break in my mind, but we have been pressed for time and we've been pushing hard. I am really tired, but we're on the home stretch. We're almost finished up here at the hut, and then we'll keep going, make our way up to Howitt. Back down into the Hauka, and it is just shy of being night. I think the theme for this hike is wake up and don't stop walking until you get to your destination, because we're definitely going to get to the car in darkness. And a jump cut to the car. We made it. I did have to do a little bit of driving because I don't want to be that guy in a crowded campsite talking to a camera, as you might be able to understand. But evidently the car starts. We're halfway on our way to Mansfield to go and get some dinner. But that's a wrap on the Viking. I hope you enjoyed the viewing of this video at the expense of my immense pain and suffering. Although it was quite nice, so at least there's that. It was breathtaking in more ways than one. Take care, and I'll catch you on the next one.